Welcome to the video. Before we begin, I suggest you subscribe to the channel, and we begin. Sophie had a rough childhood. Her parents were always fighting, and she was often left alone at home. Her father was an alcoholic, and her mother worked long hours to make ends meet. Sophie had to grow up fast and take care of herself from a young age. As a teenager, Sophie rebelled against her parents and started hanging out with the wrong crowd. She started drinking and doing drugs, hoping to escape her miserable life. When she turned 18, she moved out of her parents' house and started living with her boyfriend, Jack. Jack was a few years older than Sophie and had a job as a bartender. He was charming and handsome, and Sophie thought he was the love of her life. They talked about getting married and starting a family, but Jack was never serious about it. One day, Jack introduced Sophie to his boss, Tom. Tom was a wealthy man in his 70s and had recently become a widower. Jack told Sophie that Tom was interested in her and that he could provide for her better than he ever could. Sophie was hesitant at first, but Jack convinced her that it was the best thing for them. Sophie and Tom started dating, and soon Tom proposed to her. Sophie was hesitant, but she couldn't resist the lifestyle that Tom offered her. She agreed to marry him, and they had a lavish wedding with all the trimmings. At first, Sophie was happy. Tom treated her like a princess and showered her with gifts and attention. But soon, she realized that Tom was controlling and possessive. He didn't let her leave the house without him and monitored her phone calls and emails. Sophie tried to leave Tom, but he threatened to cut her off financially and ruin her life. She felt trapped and alone, with no one to turn to. She regretted marrying Tom and wished she could turn back time. One day, Sophie received a call from her old friend, Jack. He had heard about her situation and wanted to help. He told Sophie that he had a plan to get her out of the marriage and start a new life. Sophie agreed to meet Jack and hear him out. He told her that he had been saving up money and had a job offer for her in another state. He said they could run away together and start a new life. Sophie was hesitant at first, but Jack convinced her that it was the only way out. They made a plan to leave the next day, while Tom was out of town. The next morning, Sophie packed her bags and met Jack at a nearby park. They got into his car and drove away, leaving everything behind. Sophie felt a sense of freedom and relief, but she also felt guilty for leaving Tom. She didn't know what would happen to him or how he would react. A few hours into their journey, Sophie received a call from an unknown number. She hesitated to answer, but Jack urged her to pick up. When Sophie answered the phone, she heard Tom's voice on the other end. He was sobbing and told her that he had been diagnosed with terminal cancer. He said he didn't have long to live and that he wanted to spend his remaining days with her. Sophie was shocked and didn't know what to say. She felt guilty for leaving Tom and wondered if she should go back to him. But Jack convinced her to keep driving and not look back. Sophie never saw Tom again, and she never found out what happened to him. She started a new life with Jack and tried to forget her past. But the guilt and shame never left her, and she often wondered what would have happened if she had stayed with Tom. Years passed, and Sophie tried to move on from her past. She and Jack got married and they had 2 children together. They lived in a small town where no one knew about Sophie's previous life. However, Sophie never forgot about Tom and the guilt she felt for leaving him when he was sick. She often wondered if she had made the right choice by leaving him. She felt like she had abandoned him when he needed her the most. One day, Sophie received a letter in the mail from Tom's lawyer. She was surprised and scared to open it, but when she did, she was shocked to find out that Tom had left her his entire estate. Sophie couldn't believe it. She had thought that Tom had cut her out of his life and had never expected him to leave her anything. She was overwhelmed with guilt and confusion, not knowing how to feel about the situation. Sophie and Jack decided to use the money to start a charitable foundation in Tom's memory. They went to do something good with the money and make a positive impact on the world. They knew that Tom would have wanted that. Years went by, and the foundation became successful, helping many people in need. Sophie and Jack felt like they had finally made amends for their past mistakes and had used the money for good. Sophie realized that Tom had left her the money as a way to make amends for his own mistakes. He knew that he had been controlling and possessive during their marriage and had wanted to make it up to her. He had also wanted to make a positive impact on the world, something he had never been able to do during his lifetime. Sophie felt like she had finally found closure and forgiveness. She had been able to move on from her past and use the money for something good. She knew that Tom would be proud of her and the foundation they had created. In the end, Sophie realized that life is unpredictable and that unexpected things can happen. She had never expected to marry a 70-year-old man or to receive his entire estate years after leaving him. But she had learned that it's never too late to make amends and do something good with your life. Sophie's unexpected inheritance from Tom's estate had brought a new sense of purpose to her life, and she and Jack felt fulfilled by the work they were doing through the foundation. However, not everyone was happy with their success. Some people in their small town had become jealous and resentful, accusing them of only using Tom's money for their own benefit. It was a difficult time for Sophie and Jack, but they refused to let the negativity get to them and continued to focus on their work. One day, Sophie received a call from a man claiming to be Tom's son. She was shocked and didn't know how to respond. Tom had never mentioned having a son before, and Sophie didn't know what to make of this new information. The man explained that he had been born from a previous relationship and had never known his father. He had only found out about Tom's death through a news article and had been trying to track down any remaining family members. Sophie was conflicted. She knew that Tom had left her everything, but she also felt guilty about not telling the man about his father's death. After much thought, Sophie and Jack decided to meet with the man and talk to him about the situation. The meeting was emotional, and the man was upset about not knowing his father and missing out on any chance of reconciliation. Sophie and Jack tried to explain that they had no knowledge of his existence, but they also wanted to do the right thing. In the end, they decided to split Tom's estate with the man, as they felt it was the fairest thing to do. It was a difficult decision, but they knew it was the right one. Sophie had never expected to be reunited with Tom's son, but the experience had taught her that life is full of surprises. She had learned that it's important to always do the right thing, no matter how difficult it may be. And while she still had regrets about her past, she had found a way to make amends and use her unexpected inheritance for good. As time passed, Sophie and Jack continued to work on the foundation, and they became known for their charitable work. They had gained the trust and respect of many people in their community, and the accusations of using Tom's money for personal gain had faded away. Sophie had also formed a bond with Tom's son, and they remained in contact. They had both felt a sense of closure and healing from their meeting, and Sophie was happy that she had been able to play a part in reuniting him with his father's legacy. Despite everything that had happened, Sophie still struggled with her guilt over leaving Tom when he was sick. She often wondered what could have been if she had stayed by his side and tried to help him. But she also knew that she had made the best decision for herself and her future. One day, Sophie received another unexpected call. It was from a woman claiming to be Tom's ex-wife. Sophie was surprised and confused, as she had thought that she was Tom's only wife. The woman explained that she had been married to Tom many years ago and had left him because of his controlling and possessive behavior. Sophie was shocked. She had never known about Tom's previous marriage, and she felt like her whole world had been turned upside down. She was torn between her loyalty to Tom's memory and her sympathy for the woman's story. After much thought, Sophie decided to meet with the woman. They talked for hours, and Sophie learned more about Tom's past and his struggles with his controlling behavior. She also learned that the woman had been through a lot of pain and suffering because of Tom's behavior. Sophie felt conflicted. She had always thought of Tom as a kind and loving man, but now she realized that he had a dark side too. She also realized that she had never really known Tom, not fully. She had only known him from her own perspective. In the end, Sophie decided to use the foundation's resources to start a program for victims of domestic abuse. She felt like it was the right thing to do and that it would honor both Tom's memory and the woman's story. Sophie had never expected her life to take the turns that it had. She had never expected to marry a 70-year-old man or to inherit his estate. She had never expected to meet his son or his ex-wife. But she had learned that unexpected events could lead to unexpected opportunities for growth and healing. She had learned that it's never too late to make a positive impact on the world. The Foundation's program for victims of domestic abuse was a huge success, and Sophie and Jack felt fulfilled by the impact they were making. They received messages of gratitude and support from people all over the country, and they knew that they were making a real difference in people's lives. Sophie had also found a sense of closure regarding Tom's memory. She had learned to accept that he had flaws and to recognize the importance of acknowledging the whole person, not just the parts that fit into our own preconceived ideas. As the years went by, Sophie and Jack continued to work on the foundation and to advocate for social justice issues. They had become known as leaders in their community, and they were respected by many people for their dedication and hard work. But then, just when Sophie thought that her life had finally settled down, she received another unexpected call. It was from a lawyer, informing her that she had inherited another large sum of money from an unknown source. Sophie was confused and shocked. She had no idea who the money was from or why she had been chosen as the recipient. But then she realized that it didn't matter. What mattered was how she would use the money to make a positive impact on the world. Sophie and Jack decided to use the money to start a new program for underprivileged children, providing them with access to education and opportunities that they might not have otherwise had. They poured their hearts and souls into the program, and it quickly became a huge success. In the end, Sophie realized that life was full of unexpected twists and turns, but that it was up to us to make the most of those opportunities and to use them to make a positive impact on the world. She had learned to embrace the unexpected, to never give up on her dreams, and to always strive to make the world a better place. Sophie and Jack's program for underprivileged children continued to grow, and soon they were able to expand their efforts beyond their local community. They started working with schools and organizations in other parts of the country, sharing their knowledge and resources to help as many children as possible. Sophie had always been passionate about education, and seeing the positive impact that their program was having on children's lives was incredibly rewarding. She felt grateful for the unexpected inheritance that had allowed them to start the program, and for the support and dedication of everyone involved. As the years went by, Sophie and Jack's program became known across the country as a leading example of innovative and effective education initiatives. They continued to advocate for underprivileged children and to work tirelessly to provide them with the resources they needed to succeed. Sophie knew that her life had taken an unexpected turn when she married Tom, but looking back, she realized that it had been the catalyst for all the incredible things that had followed. She had never imagined that she would be married to a 70-year-old man, inherit his estate, or be involved in philanthropy and social justice work. But she had learned that life was unpredictable, and that the unexpected could lead to incredible opportunities for growth and positive change. In the end, Sophie felt grateful for every twist and turn that had led her to where she was today. She knew that she had made a difference in the world, and that was the greatest reward of all. As Sophie entered her golden years, she continued to work with Jack on their education program, but they also began to focus more on enjoying the simple pleasures in life. They traveled together, spent time with their friends and family, and pursued their own interests. Sophie often thought about Tom and the impact that he had had on her life. She knew that their marriage had been a controversial topic, but she had come to peace with it. She realized that love was not always conventional, and that sometimes the greatest connections could be found in unexpected places. One day, while going through some old belongings, Sophie found an old letter from Tom. In it, he had written about how much he loved her and how grateful he was to have her in his life. Sophie was moved to tears by his words, and she realized that he had truly loved her in his own way. As she sat reflecting on her life, Sophie realized that the unexpected ending to the theme of her life had been a blessing in disguise. She had found love, financial stability, and a sense of purpose that she never would have imagined. And through it all, she had learned to embrace the unexpected and to never give up on her dreams. Sophie knew that she had lived a full and meaningful life, and she was content in knowing that she had made a difference in the world. She smiled as she closed her eyes, grateful for all the unexpected twists and turns that had led her to where she was today. Sophie continued to live her life to the fullest, cherishing every moment and every opportunity. She and Jack remained involved in their education program, but they also started to think about their legacy and how they could ensure that their work would continue to make a positive impact for generations to come. They decided to set up a foundation in their name, dedicated to promoting education and social justice for underprivileged children. They worked with lawyers and advisors to ensure that their foundation would be well-funded and would continue to support their mission long after they were gone. Sophie was thrilled with the foundation's success, and she felt a deep sense of satisfaction in knowing that their work would continue to make a difference in the world long after she was gone. As Sophie approached the end of her life, she reflected on all the unexpected twists and turns that had led her to where she was today. She knew that her life had been far from conventional, but she also knew that she had never given up on her dreams or her desire to make a positive impact on the world. Sophie felt at peace knowing that her legacy would live on through the foundation and that her work would continue to help underprivileged children for generations to come. She closed her eyes with a smile on her face, content in knowing that her life had been full of unexpected blessings and that she had made the most of every opportunity. Sophie's passing was mourned by many, but her legacy lived on through the foundation that she and Jack had set up. The foundation continued to grow and expand, helping children from all walks of life to access the education and resources that they needed to succeed. Over time, the foundation became known as a leading force in education and social justice, and Sophie's name became synonymous with hope and inspiration. Her life had been full of unexpected twists and turns, but through it all, She had never given up on her dreams or her desire to make a difference in the world. As years went by, the foundation continued to flourish and make an impact. Sophie's story became a source of inspiration for many, reminding them that life was full of surprises and that the unexpected could lead to incredible opportunities for growth and positive change. Sophie's legacy was felt not only in the work of the foundation, but also in the lives of the countless children who had been impacted by her efforts. They grew up to become successful and fulfilled adults, breaking the cycle of poverty and inequality that had held them back. Sophie's story was proof that life was unpredictable, but that it was also full of opportunities for growth and positive change. Her unexpected journey had led her to a life of purpose and fulfillment, and her legacy would continue to inspire and guide others for generations to come.